Welcome back to the Cowboy Bros podcast. Jason and I are fresh off the segment discussing um, Chicago and Boston will now require proof of vaccination in indoor settings, or rather, dare I say, some indoor settings. Coming up next in segment two, we're going to be talking about the fallout from the Anjanette Young um, settlement. Um, and really, she's the star of the show because she is the aggrieved party here. And I'm referencing an article on WTTW.com from journalist Ada Mogos. Anjanette Young settlement reignites calls for police reform. The city of Chicago is shelling out to the tune of $2.9 million to resolve a lawsuit brought on by Anjanette Young. Chicago police officers left Anjanette Young handcuffed and naked while they raided her home in February 2019, only to find out later that the officers had the wrong home in the first place. Now, I've been following that case for a while. Of course, edited video of Miss Young in her home, trying to plead with officers like, "Hey, can I at least get some clothes on?" And the fallout from that is number one, to the tune of almost $3 million that the city has to pay out, and then it was another example of police misconduct. I mean, this is the issue that we hear about. The ordinance calls for several policies and procedures to become law, including a ban on no-knock warrants, a requirement that officers wait at least 30 seconds during knock and announce raids to give residents a chance to open their doors, and a requirement Chicago Police Department officers executing home raids act in a manner that is least intrusive and least harmful to Chicago families. The article continues. An investigation by the Civilian Office of Police Accountability, or COPA, found nearly a dozen officers committed nearly 100 acts of misconduct during the raid of Anjanette Young's home. Now, Police Superintendent David Brown has asked the Chicago Police Board to fire the sergeant who led the raid. COPA has also recommended multiple other officers be suspended. And now that we've kind of expounded a little bit about the fallout from that case, Jason, what are your thoughts after hearing about this nearly $3 million mistake?
So you mentioned that you've been following this case. I will admit I was not familiar with this at all until you put it in the hopper, Jasonism, yesterday um, regarding the topic. So this is all pretty much new to me. So reading this yesterday, it's all fresh in the head. So that being said, I found one of the things I found interesting was one thing you pointed out yesterday is the fact that people who you would think would tend to be on the police officers' sides, like the Chicago Lions against racist and political oppression, or Chicago police, boards and stuff like that. You think they'll be on the officers' sides, but no. A lot of these people or bodies are recommending the officers, receive punishment or be fired, whatever it may be. So I found that quite interesting because again, like I just said, usually the boys or girls in this case or whatever case, the boys, stick with the boys, they defend the boys, whatever you want to call it. Also, too, the fact that kind of that one of the last lines you read there, an investigation by Civilian Office of Police Accountability found nearly a dozen officers committed nearly 100 acts of misconduct during the raid of Miss Young's home. 100. Now I don't know the time frame which the officers were at this lady's house. Not that it matters, but 100 acts of misconduct. 100. I mean, I'm sure anyone listening to the show can count to 100. Just in your head, just start counting to 100, and that's how many nearly amount of misconduct, acts of misconduct they committed at the wrong person's home. By the way, um, I I'm struggling to figure out. I mean, I'm someone who's have gone to people's addresses before, like for delivery purposes or for customer service reasons, going to people's houses and have trouble trying to find people's houses. So I kind of get it from that regard. I wasn't serving people with warrants. So I'm trying to figure out how police officers who are trying to serve a warrant wouldn't at least make sure they're at the right person's house. And not that I would forgive any misconduct they would have done at that person's house because even if it was the right house, but still, I'm sure a lot of this, 2.9 million might have been avoided had they at least gone to the right house. But still, 100 acts of misconduct is it not again? Not that it matters, but still, it makes me very curious as to what those acts were. I mean, 100 of them. Man, I know it was 12 people, but still, that's about 8 people. There's 8 things of misconduct by each person. Like, what were you doing? Then the part about her leaving her head there naked for as long as they did, or either naked or partially covered. It's like one of you told people didn't think that, hey, she's handcuffed. Let's at least cover her up fully until we can take her off the handcuffs and let her get dressed in the bathroom or something like that. I don't know. That's just me. As someone who's worked in law enforcement before, briefly, by comparison, I, I know working in the jail is different than being out there in the community. I get that, but you would think that at least one of those 12 people would have thought, hey, you know, there's a bed on the blanket. At least cover up with the whole blanket so I can't see nothing there. So I don't know. It just seems like these 12 people just didn't really give a damn, essentially. So, and hence why Chicago's have to pay out $2.9 million to Miss Young.
I also think that it's not just, I mean, ironically, there's so much distrust, I feel, with the general public, especially if you happen to be black in the city of Chicago when you're dealing with Chicago police, that it's not a good look that you're at someone's house that you're not even that it's like the Keystone Cops. It's like you're literally at the wrong fucking address. So nothing says that you do not have a good handle on what the hell you're supposed to be doing. Like, hi, you literally came in almost guns blazing in the wrong fucking place. So, um, and I think, and I don't know if this this police accountability board has any legitimate teeth, and I don't know if Superintendent David Brown um, was for real when he's actually recommended the officer be fired. For all I know, that's one sacrificial lamb.
Which there has to be one. I mean, no offense to anybody, but the city's paying out $3 million to people. They commit all these acts of misconduct. So, like you always say, somebody's going to have to pay the cost. At least one person, and they may have found that one person. Whether it's fair or not, I can't say. I'm sure you would agree.
Somebody got to pay.
Right? Thank you, exactly, and not. Yeah, I mean, not just literally the 2.9 million, but in general, yeah, all the mess ups that had to result in, like you said, the court of public opinion, which personally I think when it comes to that will never ever be repaired when it comes to the fact that the people the mistrust, not even just of Chicago police, but even of police in general. Because, but even just keeping it with Chicago, even if you wanted to take mentality of okay, it starts with the youth, you got to help build a bridge with the youth. Well, when stuff like this keeps happening that they can see on TV or witness in their own personal neighborhoods, it's going to be difficult to kind of rebreathe or retrain the youth to say police officers aren't bad. You can trust the police. Stuff like this needs to stop. Um, yeah.
I
Sorry to
mean,
cut you off.
no, you good. No, I think for every for every cute little, oh look, this cop is crossing up dudes on the playground in on social media, there's 10 fucking videos like that.
And you can equate it to even your personal life, man. It's like you take somebody you're cool and friends with, or somebody you love, whether it be friends or relatives. You might trust them, but how many times does it take? How many acts does it take for them to you to not trust them anymore? So in some cases, it takes one act, right? So, and in the case of again, just keeping it on Chicago alone, in the case of Chicago PD, unfortunately, the citizens of Chicago, like you said, have seen too many situations like this which is going to cause mistrust. And it is what it is, man. Not, and I'm obviously not advocating for people to do harm to officers. Definitely not advocating for that. Never. But just when it comes to the whole trusting the police and the mindset of police are good, again, obviously there are going to be individuals that still do believe that. And that's fine. That's great. But there are also probably going to be mass. It's like basically Chicago police, and again, keeping on Chicago, it's like a reputation. They're going to have to, somehow gain their trust back with the entire 5 million populace of the city of Chicago, well, of the Chicagoland area in general. And that's a lot of people to try to, turn things around. So stuff like this doesn't help.
Yeah, I think number one, it can't just you can't just have one person be the sacrificial lamb, and respectfully, the Chicago Police Department, and if people feel like we are singling out the Chicago Police Department, I can assure you we are not. any any municipal police organization is gonna have to do this over time. You can't just say, "Oh, well, we're gonna institute all these measures." Like, people don't believe any organization when it says that right after you just had to pay fucking $3 million of taxpayer money.
Do we, again, not to get off point here, do we know there's going to be taxpayer money
I
in
mean,
general?
where the fuck else is it coming from?
Well, I agree with you. But what I'm saying is, I don't know
Not to
if you're
not
going
to
to.
be flippant, but
Well, I mean, that's what we do here.
yeah, where the fuck else is it coming from?
I
Police
don't know if they had.
police
Yeah.
pensions? I think not.
Well, I don't know about pensions, but I know there was some type of fund, which you know what, partially may come from taxpayer money. So disregard my whole point there. Never mind. Or not even a point, just my question. So never mind.
You've been disregarded. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, well, that's not the first time you've done that on this show. So thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, legit. Like, the average schmuck in Chicago had to write that check. I mean, you've got leadership doing it, but ultimately, leadership is doing so with money taxpayers put into that, and so that's why you should care. That's why you should have a vested interest in how the Chicago Police Department moves next, because this won't be the last fucking case. It wasn't. It listen, misconduct in the Chicago Police Department is nearly as a tale as old as John Dillinger. Okay, and we're not we're not we're not anti-cop by any stretch of the imagination here on this show, but CPD had to take the L on this one.
Yeah, folks, we're not anti-cop, but we are against those cop thugs. So there you
I knew you were dying to try and
go.
fucking shoehorn Bone Thugs into this fucking thing. I'm like, wait for it, wait for it. I'm like, I'm not
I
even
was,
gonna say anything. I'm just gonna
I
let you
was,
go.
I was waiting for you to pause. So there you go. So
Yeah, yeah. I was like, I know Jason can't stop himself. It's like a fucking runaway freight train.
I have no self control, sir.
Yeah,
They
he's
should never give me a show.
yeah, yeah. He's literally Tackleberry in Police Academy.
Minus the gun. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. That concludes our segment on Anjanette Young and her nearly $3 million settlement with the Chicago Police Department. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about the year in review, the year that was, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Coming up next on Cal Park Bros.